A Vincentian diplomat recalled from the United Nations over alleged domestic violence. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Monday, November 27. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. The St. Vincent and the Grenadines government has called home a diplomat accredited to the United Nations following reports that he punched his wife, also a diplomat, in the mouth. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves says New York-based Sion Marshall, a counselor at St. Vincent and the Grenadines' permanent mission to the United Nations, has been recalled for consultation. His wife, Sandra Marshall, who is the Deputy Consular General in New York, has also been instructed not to report for work until further notice. The development follows a New York Post newspaper report that police officers responded to the incident at the couple's home last Friday, a day before International Day to Eliminate Violence Against Women is observed.
Friends of the consultations and ascertaining the facts and considering everything, including those overriding principles that I've just summarized. Both Ambassador King in relation to Sion and Howie Prince in relation to Sandra Marshall, that they were respectively instructed not to attend, not to report for work until further notice from the capital, that is from Kingstown.
The wife's mother was reportedly present, but police said the husband could not have been arrested because he had diplomatic immunity. Prime Minister Gonsalves condemns the alleged incident and says his government is treating the matter with utmost seriousness.
The government is treating this matter with utmost seriousness and is considering all the alive legal options in this matter. From what I have said, you can deduce certain possible conclusions, certain outcomes really. But as always, we have to act sensibly, deliberately, firmly, as all the circumstances and the law and the guiding principles admit.
The decision to recall Marshall comes on the heels of the main opposition New Democratic Party calling on the government to do just that. The party says it was deeply concerned about allegations of domestic abuse and violence against women and insists that the reported allegations against the diplomat could not be treated lightly. Kamla Persad-Bissessar easily retained leadership of the Trinidad and Tobago main opposition United National Congress in internal elections on Sunday. She recorded over 20,000 votes more than her closest rival, according to preliminary results released on Monday by the party's Election Management Committee. Persad-Bissessar secured 20,328 votes compared to just 114 won by former Government Minister Christine Nwalo and a mere 45 polled by Chanda Bagan. Days before the vote, former Minister Vasant Bharat, who was considered Persad-Bissessar's main challenger, pulled out of the leadership race, saying that the election process was flawed and there was clear bias towards the UNC's incumbent leader. Still in Trinidad and Tobago, President of the Public Sector Association Watson Duke plans to write to the Minister of Finance this week, calling on him to give public servants an advance payment of $10,000 $100,000. He referred to that as a down payment on the settlement of negotiations for the 2014 to 2016 period. Duke insists there must be no more delay in giving workers what they are due.
We have decided to lose no time, given the fact our people would have waited 2014, 2015, and 2016 for the settlement of negotiations. We'll be calling upon the finance minister to give us half of the 14% that is owed to public officers as a means of restoring purchasing power. We will deal with the others when we settle negotiation, but we cannot wait. This must be dealt with hot dispatch. These workers have had to reach into their pocket over the last 3-year term, 2014, 15, and 16, and subsidize their salary.
Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced that his administration will be implementing new legislation that will inflict harsher penalties on perpetrators of crime. It would also provide provisions to prevent people charged with murder from being released on bail. Holness gave the commitment as he addressed the ruling Jamaica Labour Party's annual conference on Sunday. He also suggested that the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM, which investigates charges of breaches of civilians' rights by the security forces, may be affecting police morale. We get more from Vashon Brown of TVJ News.
So far this year, more than 1,400 persons have been murdered. Mr. Holness argues that the zones of special operations in Mount Salem in St. James and Denham Town in West Kingston have been successful. The Prime Minister says zones of special operations will be implemented in 18 other communities responsible for the bulk of the violence on the island. He notes, however, that the process will take time. The government also wants to make changes to the law to help with crime fighting.
If you commit a murder and you are arrested and charged, you should not get bail to go back out on the road to kill again, which is what we're seeing happening. And I believe the Parliament should pass that, and the people who call for justice in Jamaica should support that, because that is justice for all Jamaicans. You arrest a man and you find him with a gun, him shouldn't get bail until him this close to you where him get that gun and who bring in that gun and where him get the gun from. That is justice.
The Prime Minister also announced that the government will be setting aside money to pay the legal cost for policemen charged by the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM. Rank-and-file members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force have been urging the government to provide the assistance. Mr. Holness also adds that the police force has been heavily criticized. So bad is the criticism, the Prime Minister says it's affecting the morale of the force.
I believe that sometimes INDECOM goes too far and places our police officers on the retreat. I think a balance has to be struck. We need our policemen to be motivated. We need our policemen to feel that they are protected to fight crime and not being exposed.
At the same time, Mr. Holness maintains that INDECOM has a major role to play as it ensures that the rights of citizens are not abused by members of the security forces.
Meantime, human rights group Jamaicans for Justice has defended INDECOM following the Prime Minister's claims that police officers were fearful of doing their work because of the commission. The group's director, Roger Malcolm, described Holness's contention as baseless, given that so far this year, police have already killed more people than they did in 2016 or 2015.
You know, we're skeptical of whether or not this is borne out in the data, given that police clearly are still resorting to lethal force and have actually increased their use of lethal force in 2017. So it suggests that the impact of INDECOM may be more anecdotal and less borne out in the data in relation to the impact on police officers' morale. But again, I want to stress, if there are specific issues with INDECOM, then those specific and particular issues should be raised and should be addressed, because INDECOM, just like any other public body, must be held accountable.
Still to come in Caribbean Newsline, Grenada's Prime Minister outlines an $1.1 billion EC dollar budget containing a major increase in public assistance and some tax reductions. The details of that story and more after the break. Stay with us.
Welcome to the gem of the Caribbean, Antigua and Barbuda.
A warm welcome awaits you at our state-of-the-art VC Bird International Airport.
I must say that Antigua is in wonderful shape. 5 minutes off the boat and we're already in paradise.
Antigua was not that damaged by the storm as much as Barbuda was. The hotels are still open, the beaches are still clean, and the people are still friendly.
With Antigua, it's the people that really await you.
Hurricane Irma may have hit a little bit, but you can't even tell that it was ever here. The beach is wonderful. I'm having a great time.
Everything is just as we remember. No storm damage.
We're here and we're open. And we're better than ever.
I do a lot of destination weddings, and I see weddings that could happen here, and they would be in love with it.
I can't say enough about how in love with Antigua I am.
It is one nation, two islands, and I'm loving it.
Did you know that a strategy has been developed to help improve the region's education and human resources?
You didn't? Well, the HID strategy, as it is called, will guide CARICOM in how it delivers quality education and training to the people of the region.
The strategy has been crafted by a group of experts called the HRD Commission.
Consultations have been done across the region to get your input.
Do you know that none of us will be left behind?
The HRD strategy is important to all of us, students, parents, and employers. It will prepare the region, especially the youth, for the 21st century economy and society.
The HRD strategy, unlocking Caribbean human potential.
The government of Grenada has presented an 1.1 billion EC dollar tax-free budget to Parliament, indicating that the fiscal package is anchored in the country's growth and poverty reduction strategy, as well as Fiscal Responsibility Act. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell, who is also the finance minister, told legislators on Monday that there will be a 50% increase in public assistance, as well as a 5% reduction in personal income tax and corporate tax. Dr. Mitchell says this represents the benefits to Grenadians who made sacrifices during the implementation of the International Monetary Fund's homegrown program.
Reducing the rate of personal income tax in different categories by 5%. 2, reducing corporate income tax from 30% to 25% to encourage businesses to keep investing and keep moving. Repaving the Grand Answer St. George's Road and other roads, main roads in our country, at the heart of the business and productive activities to help us to keep on moving. Mr. Speaker, one that is dear to my heart, which I keep telling my friends at the public workers and other areas of government in this country. Will we need to look at the increase of public assistance for the elderly, and at the first stage to move from 200 to 300 per individual, in an attempt to improve the livelihood and dignity of our senior citizens. All of us must have a heart.
Immigration officials in the Bahamas have been rounding up illegal immigrants ahead of the end-of-year deadline for undocumented residents to get regularized. They're also cracking down on work permit holders who don't comply with the conditions of their permits. Head of Enforcement at the Immigration Department, Kirkland Neely, says 114 illegal Haitians were repatriated last Friday alone, and there were illegals from Sri Lanka, Colombia, Georgia, Ecuador, Peru, Jamaica, the United States. These were sent back earlier in the week.
Notwithstanding those exercises, the detention center remains home for now to 234 migrants. 189 Haitians, 14 Cubans, and 21 Jamaicans represent the largest numbers. There are also migrants from as far away as Georgia and Uganda. But while the Immigration Department carries out this routine, their frustration with legitimate work permit holders has led Neely to this action.
We pick you up working out of the scope. I will hold your work permit, allow you to remain in detention center for 2 days, give you a schooling, and let you know that, look, when it happens again, I'll make recommendation for the work permit to be cancelled.
As for employers, Neely says they'll also suffer the consequences of noncompliance.
Be told or will be sent in writing that through the director that his permit will be cancelled because he has no longer have a right to that permit if the person keep working out of the scope. I normally give everybody a chance in a break, so once it happens, I give you a warning, and then I take action after.
Next week, more repatriation exercises are due to take place, ending a year that the government is looking to change the trends that cost the country on every level.
And that report was from Kishla Adderley of ZNS Network News. Dominica's Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt has given assurances to Dominican students at the Keyville campus of the University of the West Indies that his government will do all it can to assist them in completing their studies following the passage of Hurricane Maria in September. Students have been outlining concerns over their ability to complete their courses, given that their parents at home are now focused on rebuilding their homes and lives after the Category 5 storm destroyed the majority of houses on the island in September. Skerritt, who made a brief stop in Barbados on Sunday following a visit to Trinidad and Tobago, told the students that his government will work to keep Dominicans studying at home and abroad and to keep them enrolled in their current programs. He said the government needed them to complete their areas of study and return home to help rebuild. And ahead in Newsline Sport, West Indies' three-day match against New Zealand A ends in a draw. Stay with us. Sport is next.
In a place where legends start, the beach is just the beginning. So live a little for the exhilaration and the colour of every moment, where time is and life is a spirited event. Immerse yourself in the culture, the music, the people, the island. Love Antigua and Barbuda. Embrace an experience that leaves you breathless, from cricket to sailing week to carnival and more. Antigua and Barbuda, the beach is just the beginning.
Did you know that a strategy has been developed to help improve the region's education and human resources?
You didn't? Well, the HID strategy, as it is called, will guide CARICOM in how it delivers quality education and training to the people of the region.
The strategy has been crafted by a group of experts called the HRD Commission.
Consultations have been done across the region to get your input.
Do you know that none of us will be left behind?
The HRD strategy is important to all of us, students, parents, and employers. It will prepare the region, especially the youth, for the 21st century economy and society.
The HRD strategy, unlocking Caribbean human potential.
Leading West Indies batsman Craig Brathwaite warmed up for next weekend's first test with a half-century as the Caribbean side earned a tame draw against New Zealand in their three-day match on Monday. Having failed in the first innings, the right-hander carved out 88 in the second on the final day of the contest at the Berth Sutcliffe Oval to find form ahead of the two-test series against the Black Caps. West Indies, resuming from 53 for 2 overnight, were dismissed for 186, with wicketkeeper Shane Dowitch chipping in with 74 to follow up his first innings 35. Hamish Bennett led New Zealand A with 3 for 50, while fellow seamers Jimmy Neesham, Lockie Ferguson and Logan Van Berg all finished with 2 wickets each. The hosts then rattled up 72 without loss as the match petered out into a predictable draw, with West Indies affording their bowlers decent spells in preparation for the first test. Meanwhile, West Indies assistant coach Roddy Eswick believes the fast bowlers will have a critical role to play if the Caribbean side is to make an impact in the two-test series against New Zealand starting at the end of this week. Coming off the recent Zimbabwe tour where spinners were vital because of the slow turning tracks, Eswick said the conditions in New Zealand provided the opportunity for the Windies attack to show their quality.
Well, obviously, the spinners played a bigger role in Zimbabwe because the pitches were low and slow and the ball spun quite a bit. Here in New Zealand, the ball seemed to bounce a lot more and carry through a lot more to the keeper. So you expect your fast bowlers to really do the bulk of the bowling. So it was good that the fast bowlers got a run out and you know, you're trying to cover all your bases depending on what pitch turns up in the first test match.
West Indies arrived in New Zealand last week on a quest to win their first series in 22 years. They beat Minnow Zimbabwe 1-0 in a two-test series in Bulawayo last month to win their third test in 8 outings this year. Eswick said the Windies' performances had been improving steadily, and this was in part due to outstanding work from the seamers.
Well, yes, I mean, the fast bowlers have gone well for the last year. You've been with the team, Philip, during that time, and you would realize that we've won a test match in every series of the last 4. So the fast bowlers have been doing a decent job. What we've got to try and do now is to look to do even better in this series. So the fast bowlers are going to be very, very important. And the thing about it is to get some miles in the legs, make sure that they're up and ready, and we're ready to go at New Zealand from ball 1.
The first test gets underway at the Basin Reserve in Wellington on Friday. Switching sport now, regional football nationals may no longer have to go through the Caribbean Football Union's Caribbean Cup to qualify for the Gold Cup. And that's because hemispheric football body CONCACAF is set to roll out a new tournament called the CONCACAF League of Nations. In this report from TVJ's Simon Preston, CONCACAF's regional director explains why the Caribbean stands to benefit from this major shift.
With 41 teams, including 30 from the Caribbean Football Union, to be divided into 3 tiers, CONCACAF Caribbean Football Director Horace Reed says this new tournament will be key for the growth of CFU teams. This, as the highly anticipated CONCACAF League of Nations tournament gets going in 10 months' time.
The current status of our football, or status quo, so to speak, is one where most of the teams across the Caribbean are trying to use the FIFA dates to play friendly games outside of the World Cup qualification. And in terms of World Cup qualification, most of them are knocked out pretty early. Some countries only play 2-3 games over a 4-year cycle in terms of the qualification. So the League of Nations provides an opportunity for a lot more meaningful games to these countries.
Since the inception of the CONCACAF Gold Cup in 1991, the Caribbean Cup has been used as a qualifier for CFU teams. So, with the introduction of the CONCACAF League of Nations, what does that mean for the future of the Caribbean Cup?
The Caribbean Cup is a product for the CFU, and the CFU at some point will decide if they want to continue this competition, and if they do, how they want to move forward with it. So that's really a question for the CFU. As it is now, qualification for Gold Cup will come from the League of Nations.
The former Jamaica Football Federation General Secretary adds that having these matches on FIFA dates will only increase competitiveness of football in the region.
So we're going to be utilizing the FIFA dates for these matches. So all the current FIFA dates will be utilized for the competition, and then this is going to accord the different countries an opportunity to field their best players on a regular basis, bringing them together on a regular basis. And in speaking with a lot of the presidents across the region, especially across the Caribbean, they are very, very excited about this.
Team manager of Jamaica's Reggae Boys, Roy Simpson, concurs.
I think it's a good thing. I think if you notice, so we and some of our counterparts, we never usually have the resources to play a number of international friendlies. A matter of fact, when you look at it, even from our standpoint, it's very expensive, and it is good that through the CONCACAF they have brought in the League of Nations, and we hope, and the fact that it's being played on friendly official match dates, it's a plus for us.
CONCACAF will decide in February which tier each team will play.
And finally, in horse racing, Barbadian Patrick Husbands continues to make his presence felt in the dying stages of the Woodbine season as he picked up 2 wins on Sunday's 10-race program at the prestigious racetrack. The 44-year-old, who is a 7-time Woodbine jockey champion, captured race 3 over a mile and 16th with 5-1 chance Guiadas Vegas before returning to win race 9 with favourite Laverne in Malibu going a mile and 1/8. He won for the 2nd time when he brought 4-year-old Baycoat Laverne in Malibu off the pace to trounce the 3-year-olds and upwards by a 4.5 lengths. Husbands closed the Baycoat well on the backstretch and ran down the leaders in the stretch, pulling away once they hit the front. Woodbine's Robert Geller has the call.
Coming out well towards the inside is Hollywood Critic, and on the outer, Born in a Breeze. They're out by a length to Alt, trying to settle in 3rd. US Marshal gets a nice spot in 4th, a couple to leave him in Malibu, and then Guy Caballero, and 3 away last is Cassiopeia. That is the order as they work out the stretch. Hollywood Critic is the pilot, and going forward is US Marshal. Alt on the inside. Born in a Breeze is a bit wider. They got away by 2.5 lengths to leave him in Malibu. Keeps tabs on the entire pack. Second last, Guy Caballero, and Cassiopeia is the trailer. Racing inside the 6 furlong, showing the way by only ahead is Hollywood Critic. US Marshal putting a little bit of pressure on the outside. 3 wide is Born in a Breeze as US Marshal's gone to the front now. A length away is Alt, who's saving every inch of ground. Going up is Leave Him in Malibu as they pack up. And off the track, Leave Him in Malibu coming 3 and 4 wide, tracked along by Guy Caballero. 2.5 to Cassiopeia is last. A half mile to run, and now Born in a Breeze testing US Marshal. US Marshal the inside and egg in front. Born in a Breeze second, 1 to leave him in Malibu is 3rd. Alt in the centre making ground. The inside Hollywood Critic, Guy Caballero's there, and last of all is Cassiopeia. Born in a Breeze serving it up to US Marshal at their girth. Leave him in Malibu and Guy Caballero 4 wide. Alt had a good run as they turn, and Born in a Breeze took the lead, tackled by Leave Him in Malibu, and Guy Caballero down the outside. US Marshal kicks on a bit. Leave Him in Malibu's got the lead. Alt is running on. Leave Him in Malibu has left them, got out by 2 or 3. Alt in second, and finally we're going to see Leave Him in Malibu put it all together. A horse with so much class, and now a winner. 4.5 lengths to Alt, 3rd Hollywood Critic, and Cassiopeia was 4th.
And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
There was a boy that was running in for a touchdown. Zach evidently got him right as he was crossing the goal line. There was, a timeout on the field, and I really didn't see it happen. And then I heard my son's name. Hey, everyone take a knee. Zach's hurt. Zach's down. And so, of course, you get concerned.
Again, the major developments of this day. Vincentian diplomat Sion Marshall is recalled from the United Nations over domestic violence allegations. His alleged victim, his wife, who is also a diplomat, has also been instructed not to report to work until further notice. And in sport, West Indies earn a team draw against New Zealand A in their 3-day match. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to CarnaNews.com. Have yourselves a very good evening.